Thank you. All right. So as Jamie said, I'm Jessica Adams. I'm here to talk to you about Code Red. I don't really know where to look because I'm like, look at the camera, look at the people, so, and my eyes are darting around, you know why. But yeah, so as Jamie said, I'm here from Washoe County Emergency Management. I am Homeland Security Program Assistant, but I also help with our preparedness events. So I'm going to talk to you about Code Red. So Code Red is an emergency notification system that sends emergency messages to certain individuals, or individuals within certain areas, I should say. We use this system in emergency management to send alerts for all sorts of different emergencies, but mainly wildfire evacuations, flooding, earthquakes, and more. Code Red is just one of many notification systems. You may have also heard of AlertSense, but Washoe County and the state of Nevada both utilize Code Red exclusively. Okay. So messages can arrive in the form of a text, voice call, email, social media, and more. You can choose if you want to receive multiple modes. How do I put that? You can choose one mode or multiple modes of receiving a message. So you want to receive a text, an email, and a phone call, you're more than welcome to. So Code Red utilizes two methods of sending the alerts, either through reverse 911, which is the 911 database, or through wireless emergency alerts. Both are great methods, but both do have limitations. Okay, so why is Code Red important? We notify the public of emergency details, instructions, or precautions to make you more informed about your safe decisions. So people who do not register for emergency notification systems, like Code Red, might not be able to receive these messages. So kind of like John was saying, there might be some confusion about evacuations. And there also, if say the electricity fails and you have a landline, or if you have an unlisted phone number, you might not be receiving the message anyways. So Code Red allows residents to put in multiple forms or modes of receiving their contact information, of their contact information to receive the message. Registering for Code Red will increase your likelihood that you can receive important notifications. All right, so we get some questions about what Code Red does and doesn't do. It really is just a best practice to not overuse the alerting system. So if I was to send an alert to you every 5 minutes saying like, prepare to evacuate, or even in a different situation, just like, hey, there's a fire, it's not in the D'Andrea area, it's just in a different part of Reno, different part of Sparks, don't worry about it. You would eventually not pay attention. So we really try to only send alerts when it is an immediate, potentially life-threatening emergency. We always obviously care the most about lives, and then second is property. So obviously we're going to be sending alerts if either of those are threatened, but we will not be sending alerts for, hey, COVID's going around, wash your hands. Or, hey, what was my other example? There's smoke, stay indoors. Those are not life-threatening emergencies, although they are health issues. They are not emergencies. So I just like to clarify that. Okay, so okay. So we receive information about evacuations one of two ways. We either receive a call from 911 dispatch saying, we just got word that we need to evacuate these areas, or we receive calls directly from the fire departments. So they will tell us which areas or which street names need to evacuate, and then we draft a message and we push it out. Within the Code Red system, we create polygons, or a polygon, I should say, of the affected area. It's not a perfect system, but we do the best we can. But I just wanted to show you guys an example of an alert that you might receive. So I'm gonna probably butcher the name, but it would say something like wildfire near Washoe Drive in the D'Andrea neighborhood. Evacuate now. Evacuate west towards Berrien Boulevard. Evacuation point at Dilworth Middle School, 255 Crater Way. Large animals can go to Reno Sparks Livestock Event Center, 1350 North 12th Avenue. Check local media for updates. So this is just an example, and this is obviously subject to change. So if there is a fire, please don't be like, well, Jessica told me to go to Dilworth Middle School in a presentation. Obviously go off of what your alerts. Okay, so you're probably all wondering, how do I get these alerts? I think in the poll we said 80% of people weren't signed up for Code Red. So as Jamie talked about, she created a really awesome flyer that goes through how to sign up. And you have two options. So if you're very tech savvy and you can use your cell phone, you can text the word Washoe to 99411, or on your computer, you can go to readywashoe.com and you'll click on sign up for regional alerts. And then you pretty much just follow the prompts from there. I think that pretty much wraps it up for me. Stick around for the Q&A if you have any questions about Code. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jessica. So we do have the Code Red flyers. Anybody that is here, I do have them back at the table. There is also a QR code on there. So if you know how to use QR codes, you just download an app, and then you link your camera to the QR code, and then it goes straight to the site. So if you are online, I'm sure that we can get this emailed to you. So let's introduce the next speaker. It's Major Herod. He is the fire inspector he's a fire inspector with the Sparks Fire Department, and he's going to be talking about Ready, Set, Go.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Major Herrick. I'm a fire inspector with the City of Sparks Fire Department. And my purpose tonight is to talk a little bit about the Ready, Set, Go program. Ready, Set, Go was initiated by the International Association of Fire Chiefs. And much like Living with Fire, it offers a guide of how to prepare yourself, your property, in the event of a wildland fire and what to do. So, this talks about Ready, Set, Go. Next slide. A lot of this information is parallel to what Living with Fire recommends. The part I'm going to be focusing on tonight is the Go portion. The Ready portion is hardening your property, your house, your land, clearances, what to clear, what to plant. Again, that's going to be covered in the Living with Fire much more in depth than this program. So we can proceed. There's a couple examples of well-cleared land, well-prepared land. The last photo down there is even of a house that did catch fire, but because they prepared properly, they were still able to save the house. And if you want to review this information, it is all online. If you go to the International Associations of Fire Chiefs website, you can easily reference all this material. Again, it talks about preparing property, hardening property, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. They're all in reference to distances from the house that should be cleared, what should be seen in those zones, how to prepare your property best to survive a fire. And why is this so important? Studies have shown that up to 80% of homes that were lost in a wildland fire could have been saved with better preparation. So it's critical that people take an effort ahead of an emergency. This shows a lot about the house again. From my own personal history, I was a wildland firefighter for 12 years in California in the Redding area. I was on structure protection numerous times, more than I could count. And these things do make a difference, absolutely. Things like clearing the needles off of your roof, clearing the needles out from under your deck. They're critical. And for a very small amount of effort, you can affect a tremendous difference in an emergency. More information about hardening the house. They talk about turning the lights on and leaving the doors unlocked. That seems counterintuitive, but surprisingly, in a wildland incident, the difficulty in seeing houses and figuring out where they are and they need to be protected, sometimes leaving the lights on lets us know that there's a house out there that we've missed. Talks about the READY program, a checklist. These things, even if I go over all of them with you tonight, you won't remember them. The best possible solution, go on the website, look them up, and do fill them out for yourselves. That way you won't forget something. When you get the notice, you get the red alert, it's time to go now. A million things flood through your mind. If you're not prepared, you're going to miss something. This helps you prepare ahead of time to know and give you that security. Okay, it's time to go. These are the things I have to do, one step after another. It takes away the panic and it gives you a course of action. More stuff about getting ready, set, and go. The go thing. Why do we want to go early? Why don't we want to not hang around and wait? Talked a little bit about jamming up the roadways. That is always a constant problem. Again, I was a wildland firefighter. I drove a fire engine. One of the most frustrating things ever is to have a horse trailer and truck all the way across the roadway while somebody's trying to load animals that are panicking. And I can't get into your houses to try to save your homes. It's a real helpless feeling. If you know a fire's coming and you have large animals, plan ahead. Come up with a system. How are you going to get those animals moved? Where are they going to go? What can you do? Don't wait till the last second. Those animals depend on you for their safety. If you do have to back up and leave, your family's going to want to know where you're going. We've had the emergency, the cell phone systems so overwhelmed by people trying to call family and call friends and figure out what's going on, who's safe, whose house is safe, that the cell phone towers have crashed and completely become unavailable. The fire departments have radio systems that avoid that situation, but we still rely a lot on the cell phones. So what would happen if your cell phone crashed and you're not able to call out, to call your friends to let them know they're safe? Hopefully you've set up with a relative or a friend somewhere out of the area that can act as your communication hub and let your family know that you're okay, that you don't need help, or that maybe you do need help. It's a tremendous resource to have this set up ahead of time and not try to catch up after the fact. Talk about things, again, ready is preparing yourself, preparing your property. Set is be aware of what's going on in the community. I know during summertime, that's when we have most of the situations, but springtime this year in Sparks, we had a 12-acre fire off of Vista Boulevard. People aren't expecting a fire during that time of year. And you could get a phone call, a red alert while you're at work. What would you do if you're sitting at work and all of a sudden they said your home had to be evacuated? It's a real problem. Sometimes they set up a perimeter and don't let people in. If you're at work, you can't even get home to get to your animals or prepare your house or whatever you might need to do. You have to prove that that's where you live and that you need to get in and get out. Things that people don't think about. This is the picture of the Vista Fire we had this spring. Nobody expected this. This was before we had enough rain for anything to even grow. If you notice the terrain, there's sagebrush and cheatgrass. The cheatgrass in this photo was last year's cheatgrass. It was still standing. It was on the hillside, and the main carrier of this fire was 3 and 4 inch tall cheatgrass. The sagebrush did burn, but it wasn't the main carrier of the fire. I mean, just ground litter, basically, 3 inches tall is nothing. That's what we ask people to clear grasses in their yards down to 4 inches of the ground. And it still can have a fire big enough that it can threaten. I don't know if you can see very well, but these dots on this line up here, those are houses. And that slope is steep enough that the fire engines can't drive up it. And it's just cheatgrass, but that cheatgrass threatened those homes. And we're fortunate to get it stopped before it caused any real damage. But are those homes prepared? Are those people expecting fire to come up that hill? Well, you should be. Anytime you have wildland encroaching on houses, people don't consider this a wild urban interface. If you have trees and cheatgrass and brush, you can get fire brands coming off of it. They can blow into a yard with a little bit of wind. And again, 80% of homes in wildland fire that are lost probably could have been saved by a little bit of preparation at a time. And again, you don't expect it in the middle of spring. This was like February or March. I think it was March. Who prepares their yard at that time? Picks up leaves, stuff like that. People aren't thinking about that. Just takes a little bit of time to prepare your land and save the house. So we talked about being ready to go, not blocking up roadways. We recommend as soon as you learn that your property is in danger, start preparing. You got your to-go packs.
Yeah.
You got your animals taken care of if you have large animals, small pets. In an emergency situation, a good pet carrier is really handy. You don't want an animal on a leash. You're trying to hold on to an animal. In emergency situations, they panic, they get away. Then you can't get them back. It causes a lot of stress. If they can be kenneled, you can carry them. A lot of evacuation centers now have facilities and are prepared to handle people with pets. That wasn't always the case. You might want to pre-plan with hotels and motels that are pet friendly. You know, just plan a little bit ahead. Where am I going to go? Do I have family I can go to? Is there a hotel around that I can take my pet? And hopefully you guys are all familiar with this picture. This area has burned 3 times since 2006. The last go around, it lost more houses than ever. Yeah, it can happen. It happens here. It's not a matter of will it happen or will it not happen. It's going to happen. It happens every year. It will happen again. Hopefully, we're prepared. That preparation, again, hopefully will save 80% more homes than we've lost before. Are there any questions in the room?
Oh, we're going to share questions at the end.
Okay. All right. I think that's about all I have this time.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Major. Okay. So the last speaker is myself, and I am really bad at multitasking. So I'm going to try to talk to you and do this. And that was pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with that. Okay. So I was asked to talk about evacuation go bags for humans and animals. And I'm going to show this wildfire evacuation checklist. So the Living with Fire program has this. It's up on our website. It's a really awesome checklist. If you don't have it, you can go to livingwithfire.com, or I'm sure it'll be emailed out. If you are in the room, it's in the back if you'd like that checklist. But evacuation and go bags are actually near and dear to my heart, just because I've been evacuated twice. In 2011, I was living in an apartment off of Skyline Boulevard, and the Collin Fire came in, and I was evacuated then. And then in 2016, when I was about 7 months pregnant, a wildland fire happened about 200 yards from my house. And they evacuated our area. I was at work at the time, so I was in a different location. But it's really important to be prepared. When folks ask you to evacuate, it's really important to evacuate quickly and safely. And to do that, you really need to prepare. And so I know a colleague who was doing wildfire preparedness just like me, and she was in the Little Valley Fire, and she could not think. When the Little Valley Fire came in, she was woken up in the middle of the night, and all she could look for was a family heirloom, a ring that she was going to give for her son. You know, and she teaches this stuff, and it happens to the best of us. You're panicked and you can't think. So it's really, really important to be prepared. I have a volunteer that works for the Red Cross, and she says that sometimes she'll work in evacuation shelters, and she says that sometimes there's folks who just show up with a jacket, and that's it. So I'm going to go over some items to pack up for go bag. If you do a go bag, I recommend having something with wheels. I hope that the folks online can see, but I have a little rolly cart with wheels. I also have a really ugly suitcase with wheels. And so this is my go bag. So it's pretty awesome that I can just stick this in a closet because I don't even use it. I don't even know where it came from. I hate that suitcase, but you know, just something that you can pick up or roll, something easy to put your items in. I have a go bag at home in my closet. I have a go bag in my car, and I have a go bag in my office. And reason being is because when I was evacuated the second time and I was at work, you know, if they evacuate your area, they're not going to let you in. So you want to have some items to be prepared. I have an evacuation go bag in my car, which is really awesome. And it's really helped me later on. And when I talk about different items, I'll give you examples of why it was awesome to have a go bag. I wanted to add, it's really important to keep your car in good condition. Have you know, your tires in good condition. Make sure that you have a gas tank that's full. Sometimes folks evacuate at a moment's notice, and then they have, you know, a car that doesn't have gas, and their car ends up dying in the road, and that's actually blocking the way for emergency responders to get in or out. So just make sure you have, you know, gas, your car's in good condition, good tires. You really want to make sure that you have windshield wiper fluid. What else? So the one thing that we cannot do without is water. It's really important to have 2 gallons per person per day. I do not have 2 gallons up here. It's way too heavy. So I just have these little plastic water bottles up here. And you really want to change this out about 6 months. Water doesn't stay well in these plastic bottles, you know, for years. So I change it about every 6 months. What else? One of the most forgotten medications out there, or one of the most forgotten items in your go bag are medications. Fun fact about me, I have a skin allergy, and I need to have a Zyrtec allergy pill every day, or I break out in like head to toe hives. So I have this everywhere, my Zyrtec medication. It's really important. My daughter has asthma, and so I bought this little box right here, and it has her inhaler, and it has a chamber, and it also has a medication in here if she needs it. This is in addition to her regular stuff that she has at home. I always trade it out because, you know, it expires over time. Having a go bag is much like doing defensible space. You have to create it and you have to maintain it. You know, we have different seasons and things expire, so you really want to change things out constantly. Let's see, what else? So along with, you know, having your medication, it's really important to have your prescription number, your dosage, your pharmacy, your physician, the name of the drug, have all that information in your go bag. So a friend of a friend, she was in the Paradise Fire, which was actually called the Camp Fire. But she was in that fire. She was taking care of her elderly mother, and they couldn't get through. So she ended up off road, going off road. And she said it was one of the most terrifying experiences when she was evacuating. She was driving on downed power lines. She was driving across ditches, and she's got her elderly mother with her. So they finally make it to the evacuation center. And then the folks at the evacuation center ask her, well, what type of medication does your mother take? And she didn't know. She knew the color of it, but she didn't know what type of medication. And it was imperative that she had this medication. So it's really important to have this information, not only for yourself, but for your pets too. If your pets require medication, have the dosage, amount, your vet's name, all of that information. It's important to have cash and small bills. What if the electricity's out and you can't use your card? Or for a younger demographic, what if you can't use Venmo? Your phone is dead, there's no electricity. Having cash and small bills really helps. You don't want to have to go to a store, their electricity's out, and you pay $100 for a bottle of water, So it's really important to have cash and small bills. So in here, I have important documents. I've got passports, I've got titles, I've got, oh my gosh, like trust. These are all my important documents, and I stuck it in a Ziploc bag so it doesn't get wet. I have that in my go bag. Passports are a good form of identification if you don't have any. What else? Having non-perishable food is a great idea, especially if you have some sort of food allergy. I've got these little like freeze-dried things. All you have to do is just add hot water to it. It expires in 2026. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it has a good shelf life. I also have like bars. The lady that volunteers for us, who also volunteers for the Red Cross, she takes breakfast bars and Cheerios, and then uses like a vacuum sealer, and just to prolong the life of these types of foods. What else? So having a cell phone charger, a battery backup, a radio, a flashlight, those are great things to have. I got this really cool item from the Washoe County Health Department at a preparedness event. I think Jessica might know what this is. So it's a crank radio, and it's also a flashlight. I don't want to blind anybody, so it's a flashlight too. And you can charge your cell phone on it. So I love this. Like I'm such a nerd. I was like, I begged him, can I please have that? So, and actually Major told me that with these types of crank radios, you need to crank it every 4 months to prolong the battery life. I had no idea. So when Major had come early and we were talking about all these items, he told me, yeah, you should just crank it and just charge it every 4 months. So I'm going to start doing that. So what else is there? Having prescription glasses, a first aid kit. I have one in my car, and it saves me all the time. I have a preschooler, and we go out to the park, and she gets scrapes and bumps, and then I have a first aid kit to help with that. So that's really awesome. Personal toiletries. I'm going to let you all in a secret. So this is actually my travel toiletry bag. This is stuff for my husband, myself, and my daughter. What's really cool is when we go on a trip, I just grab this and I'm already packed. I have things in here that expire, like face creams. And so, I'll realize like, oh, this needs to be used. So I'll trade it out for a newer version. Or I'll realize, oh, I'm missing this item. And so then I'll replace it. So that's my secret for my travel and personal toiletries. Hand warmers are hand warmers or body warmers or feet warmers. Those are great options. I actually had to work this weekend at a green waste event. So I was with some firefighters under an easy up while it was pouring outside, and I froze my fingers off. I brought these out, and I gave some of these hand warmers to the firefighters. I'm pretty sure some of them used it. Some of them were like, I'm not going to use that, but I'm pretty sure some of them used it. But I loved it. It was awesome. What else? I have trash bags and Ziploc bags. You never know what you're going to use that for. Maybe you want to put your dirty clothes in there. I have tape. I actually don't know why there's duct tape, but you could use it for anything, pretty much. What else? I have, you're supposed to have clothing packed for 3 days for all of the folks in your home. Here's another travel tip for me. I use these packing cubes. I hope everybody can see it online. These are really, really cool, and they keep you organized. So they're these packing cubes, and you can put clothes in them. If you want to keep, like, you know, a packing cube for your child, and then a packing cube for your spouse, you can. You can have a packing cube for, like, you know, jackets or something more. But this is 1 day's worth for my whole family, and including, you know, nighttime clothes. Went over clothing, masks. So as we learned, wildfire smoke is incredibly bad because it has this fine particulate matter. And if you are, so actually in Lake Tahoe, in South Lake Tahoe, during the Caldor fire, they had an air quality index of 800 up there. Now, if you don't know what the air quality index is, like, good air quality is 0 to 50, and they were at like 800 AQI in South Tahoe. You would really want a mask. Now, any old mask does not work. I've learned that this year. You really want your mask to be a P100 or an N95, and it has to be NIOSH approved, NIOSH. It's printed on here. NIOSH means National Institute of Safety and Health. So these masks are recommended to be used. They should be fit tested, meaning that it's really fit to your face. If you have facial hair, it's not really going to work because this needs to suction to your face. They don't have these types of masks for children. And what else? These are, if you just buy any random, you know, N95 P100 mask off Amazon and it doesn't say NIOSH, it's not recommended. So I learned that this year when I had to write a smoke, preparing for smoke article, or fact sheet rather. So that's good information. What else? If you or anybody that you know of has diabetes, you know that there's a lot of things and medications to have. You want to have at least 1 to 2 weeks worth of supplies. And they sell something online. It's called a Frio bag. It's this little bag, and you dip it in water, and it turns cold, and it can keep your diabetic medication cold. I don't know for the duration, but it's, you know, if you don't have any ice or anything, that's a great option to have. One thing that I learned from my volunteer at Red Cross was that if you evacuate your home and you go to a neighbor's house, it's really important that you let the shelter know that you evacuated and you're staying in your friend's house. Simply because if the electricity goes out or your phone dies and your loved ones are trying to reach you, they can call the evacuation center, and the evacuation center can confirm that you are safe, you're staying with somebody. So that really helps. What else have I not talked about? Computer backups. I have my my wedding album on here. That's something that I don't want to lose. I'm not going to stick my wedding album in my evacuation go bag, but I have copies in here. So, you know, you want to back up your computer files and such. I think that's it. You know, maybe pack for the season. Jackets are a great idea this time of the year. I have a wool blanket in my car because I'm always cold, and I know that it would come in handy. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about evacuation go bags for animals. Full disclosure, I am not an expert on this information. I stole this information, I borrowed it from the Washoe County Regional Animal Services. So you can go to their website and get this information. But I've also attended a meeting and listened to the Washoe County Regional Animal Services representative speak. And the one thing that really resonated with me was that if you have animals, it's really, really important to get them used to going into a crate or going into a trailer if you have a large animal. The last thing you want is like you can't get your panicked animal into a crate because they've never been in a crate before. And then you just end up putting them in the car with you, and then they're curling all over you while you're trying to drive away. You don't want that at all. So again, having a go bag is about preparing for this. So you want to prepare your animals too for this. All animals should have identification attached to them. Small animals like birds and reptiles, they should have information on their cages. And you want to have a current photo of your pet. This is my dog right here. This is Buckley. He is a very energetic boy. My vet actually gave this, and I don't know why, but they ended up drugging him before his surgery and then took a picture of him. So his picture is like, ah, but anyway, that's him. I have a photo. I have all of his vaccinations in here. That's also something that's really important to include in your go bag for your pet. Again, if they have medications, you want to have the prescription number, the name of it, your vet. You want to bring their food. I have his food right here. This has actually saved me having food in my go bag. We have our food delivered, and the delivery company was really late getting us our food, and we ran out of food. And I was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Oh, I had food in the go bag. So we use that. And again, you want to change this out every 6 months. So what else? You really want to bring the food with you because the evacuation shelter will have food, but your animal might not be used to that type of food, and they may have digestive issues. So really important to bring food. I have a little bowl right here. It's a little collapsible bowl that I keep in my go bag for him. And I have this little water bottle thing. And so you just fill it full of water and then you squeeze it and they drink out of this little container. And then I was at a preparedness fair and they had this emergency drinking water. And so I have this for him too. I also have his leash and waste bags too. Let's see. What else do I have? I have a pet rescue alert sign on my front window of my house, and it just lets emergency responders know that my dog is there. And if I'm unable to get in there and get my animal before, they will go in and get him. So once I found out about that, I made sure to grab him. I'm pretty sure you can get it online. You might be able to get it at the Humane Society or the Washoe County Regional Animal Services. I'm not sure, but that does exist. Okay, so the Regional Animal Services recommends having non-nylon halters, so like leather, because you don't want these halters to melt to the animal's skin. So leather is a better option. And then for cats, you want to have a litter pan, litter scoop, extra litter, and then something familiar for your animal. I failed and I don't have a comfort item for my dog. I need to get a blanket. He loves his blankets. He gets really upset if he doesn't have a blanket. So I need to get a comfort item. And something I didn't talk about is here's a comfort item for my daughter. I just got her a little coloring book. If we are in an evacuation center, she doesn't know that I have this. This is going to be like Christmas for her. She's going to be so excited that this is here. So I have something for my daughter too. Okay. Let me go to the next slide. It seemed like nobody had any horses or livestock. And because I don't know very much about horses or livestock, I am not going to go over this. So we're just going to pass over that. I don't know much about birds either, but I'm just going to talk really quickly about this. You know, transport your bird in a small and securely covered carrier. You want to partially cover your cage so that the bird can help them remain calm. And then once you arrive at your destination, you want to move them to a bigger cage. You want to appropriately heat or cool your vehicle before putting your birds in there. And you want to keep your birds in a quiet area. Don't let them out in an unfamiliar area. They recommend having either a hot water bottle to warm birds during cool weather, or a plant mist or a battery operated fan for cooling birds in hot weather. Reptiles. I don't know much about reptiles either, but again, I will go over this. So you want to not use their primary habitat. It can be pretty big, or things can be jostled around while you move your pet, and they might get hurt. And you want to make sure that this is an escape-proof type of transportation carrier for them. You can transfer your reptile after you arrive to your destination. You want to keep the habitat in a quiet environment away from heavy foot traffic to help keep them calm. Bring hot water bottles or battery-operated heat sources to heat your reptile if you want to assume that you're not going to have electricity. You want to bring a water dish for soaking or spray bottle for misting. And then just determine when the best time is to feed your reptile. You know their feeding schedule. They won't eat every day. And bring clean water. Okay, so here is really important contact information. This is the Washoe County Regional Animal Services. And you would like to reach them, here's all this. You can also Google them and look at their website. So I also want to add in, if you have any questions, you want to find the evacuation checklist, or you want to learn more about defensible space, or you want to learn more about home hardening, you can visit livingwithcode.com. Okay, so now we're going to open up this for questions. And I'm going to see if we have gotten any questions. We have one question, or maybe one. Okay, one question. What's the difference between alert sent through an iPhone and those sent from Code Red? So I'm going to hand this over to Jessica so she can answer this.
Okay, well, that's a great question. One that I honestly don't know the answer to. But I think my understanding with the question is that alert sense is maybe what is through iPhones, and Code Red is a separate program. I have an iPhone, so that's where the confusion lies. But Code Red is a separate program, not associated with any sort of phone company, if that makes sense, or phone model. Code Red is a standalone thing. You can receive alerts via text, phone call, or email. Or I just said the answer. But also through social media. So when we post, or when we send an alert, we also include a link to social media, or so it'll automatically send to our Washoe County Twitter feed. I don't know if any of you are on Twitter or you utilize Twitter, but that's also another way of finding out. So yeah, I would say that even if you do have alert sense on your iPhone, it still would be beneficial to sign up through Code Red. And the link on the website, or the QR code, or the text message option will sign you up directly to Washoe County. So it's just the best way of receiving information. The way I answered that.
So Jessica, I wonder where alert sense gets its information.
You might need to review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question was from John, where does alert sense get their information from?
And you obviously don't know, but I mean, that would be
I don't
something we
know.
could follow it back
It's
to.
a really good question. I don't know if they call it through Code Red, but yeah, I can definitely look into that and report back, because I'm not sure. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the confusions that we've had with the past fires is who to really trust and who to really listen to, because there's been a lot of issues around, is it alert sense or is it Code Red, or and when do we evacuate, or what do we do to evacuate? So
the question was from John, or I guess statement more so, is saying that there's been some confusion about when to evacuate, just because maybe getting mixed messages from alert sense or Code Red. I mean,
not Code Red.
Not Code Red. Okay.
At all.
Just
other platform. Yeah.
Okay. So I would say, I mean, Code Red, as I explained, we are receiving information either directly from 911 dispatch located in Washoe County, or City of Reno, City of Sparks, and then we are pushing it out. So, or we're talking directly to the fire chiefs, and they're the ones who are saying, like, we need to get these people out now. So personally, I would go with Code Red, or I would ask who I would be trusting, but also, I know you guys live within the city of Sparks, but Truckee Meadows Fire is really great about tweeting out information regarding any fires within the area. So Adam Mayfair is the public information officer at Truckee Meadows Fire, and he will, if he sees, like there's a fire in Sparks, he will tweet it out, and that's a really great way of finding out information too. And it's always accurate information.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions. There's a question from the audience.
Jamie, you talked about the little radio that you really liked here. What's the difference between that and an NOAA radio, which is a self-crank battery, a variety of kinds of things?
So
Maybe the fire marshal could talk to that. I'm not sure.
the question is, what is the difference between the hand crank radio that I shared and an NOAA hand crank radio? And I don't know that answer, so I'm going to see if Major knows that answer. So
The NOAA radio is mainly directed for weather. The radio that she has is just a general radio that can be dialed into all kinds of radio stations. The weather one's a great resource for tracking weather. The general radio is oftentimes a little better for dialing in local channels and figuring out the latest news, the local news. Sometimes they do both. The NOAA radio I had, you could tune to the weather channels or local radio stations. Just mostly preference.
Does it also allow you, Major, to tap into emergency bands on that radio over and above what you might get on a local basis?
So the question was, does it allow you to tap into emergency bands over the local radio?
I have not seen a radio capable of that in a very long time. I don't even know if they use, like, you're talking about like a CB channel?
Yep.
I have not even seen one of those in a very long time. Everybody's using Twitter and phones and Facebook groups and all kinds of various other things. The last time I dealt with an emergency radio citizen band was when Fallon still maintains Channel 9 in Fallon.
Well, to your point in your presentation, if a cell tower goes down, those things twitter.
We have ham radio operators that volunteer in the event of a large emergency situation. I haven't heard of them being activated in about 8 years. Last time.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Certainly.
Jamie, while Major's up, I was going to ask him, there was in the fire that you showed the last slide, that was Callan Ranch.
Yes.
And there was one house, I think, that acted as a ember distributor. Can you describe why that was with that house? Do you know the history of that now? Or?
I'm not sure of the specific house, but if there's wood shakes on a roof, they contribute a huge amount of embers, firebrands. They can travel for up to a mile depending on the weather. Fire creates its own weather when it gets large enough. And if a burning ember is taken aloft, it's very much like a pellet of hail, and it can be transported a mile away from the fire. And they can actually land still burning. And if they find an appropriate fuel bed, I've been personally fighting fires where fires started a half mile, almost a full mile ahead of the main fire. And it's a real helpless feeling as a firefighter not to be able to draw a line in the sand and stop the fire from progressing. It's a real challenge. And again, preparation becomes key. Do you have needles and leaves in your gutters?
Yeah.
Do you have a pile of needles on your house?
Yeah.
Underneath the eaves on the ground, do you have needles and pine cones there? Those are all fuel beds and they should be removed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have a question for Jamie. You had 3 different go bags. So where do you put the real valuable documents? Because I would be afraid to put them in my car.
I don't put it in my car. I put it in my closet. Yeah, so those valuable items go in my closet.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other stuff is just like clothes and stuff. So,
Right.
but it's important to have copies. I have heard of folks who, make copies or put it in a.
We've got a fireproof safe that we have in our house. We have copies of everything in there.
Yeah.
Because I've lost everything personally before, you might consider a safety deposit box. That's where I keep things that I cannot replace, and copies are no good. So I keep everything there.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Great point. Safety deposit box. And the fireproof safes, I mean, they don't,
They work
sometimes-
well, but they're rated for a certain amount of time before. And in a wildland fire, it can burn for days, literally days. And fire safe vaults may or may not provide protection for that long.
Okay.
Yeah, I know of somebody who their home unfortunately succumbed to wildfire, and they had a fireproof safe, and all of their documents had combusted, and so it's nothing was there.
Yeah.
So it was really sad. So are there any questions in? Oh, okay. Let me go back to here and read a question. Okay, this is for Major. What recommendations would you have for homeowners wanting to stay behind and protect their house during an active fire?
This is a tough one. A lot of people have interest in staying behind and protecting their own house. Planning ahead, preparation, I don't recommend it, but if you are insistent upon staying behind and protect your house, realize that the infrastructure is going to fail. The water pressure you have in your house, unless you're on a well, is going to fail. If you have a well and a generator, you may still have water to fight a fire. Don't count on it. If you have maybe a pool or something, a reservoir of water, have a generator and a pump capable of running without the grid. People have solar now. Solar is a great resource. It can become damaged in a fire and fail. I just don't recommend it. I mean, even if you plan on staying behind, prepare to leave. Have 2 ways out. Know your local roads and how dangerous they are. Some of the dirt roads have too much overgrowth. In a fire situation, you're going to get trapped. If you're going to stay behind, you may consider some kind of vault that you can retreat to, like a basement with fire protection rated walls and doors. If everything goes super bad, at least you have a way to try to just save yourself. Again, I just don't recommend it. The fires that we've seen lately are more intense than anything we've ever encountered before. 300 walls of flame in a forest is not unusual these days. I've seen 12-inch trees ripped off of their stumps by the winds that can be created by these fires. People don't consider that. You're going to be in almost a tornado if the fire goes over the top of your house in a wildland situation. I've been there. I was not prepared. I was on a fire engine. It's scary. It's darn scary, and I just don't recommend it for anybody.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so let me see if there's are there any questions in the audience? No? Okay, well, I just want to thank everybody for attending and speakers for coming. This is really great information. Oh, we have one question?
Yes.
Here, hold on a second.
Well, no, can we have another cookie?
Yeah, you can have another cookie. I made it. It's gluten-free, by the way. Good, okay. Well, thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thanks,
And
Major.
If you have any questions, you can always email us or contact the
No, I've
folks
done
in
enough
the
damage.
partner
No,
group.
thank you.
Thank you.